I want to talk to you about something. I wrote something the other day I wanted to share with you, but also I want to kind of clear up a few things. So I never made my show a Christian show, and I've talked about that in past podcasts many times. And there was two reasons for that. One, I don't want to misrepresent Christianity or Jesus, right? And I didn't feel like I was a good enough Christian to call myself a Christian and be a Christian show. I mean, we've seen too much corruption in the church. I think that someone who does that should set an exemplary example for people and represent the church. It's like you see here in the South, you'll see these trucks a lot of times, and they'll have on the tailgate Bible verses or stickers about Jesus and Bible verses all over the trucks. And I always think to myself, I would never want to put those on my truck, because first thing I do when I cut somebody off, or I go to a brewery, or I'm doing something and not paying attention, people are going to say, look at that Christian and what he's doing there, So I think that a lot of these people, once they start trying to wear their religion on their sleeve, they become insufferable and intolerable, and they don't see the error of their own ways. So as one, I didn't feel like I was a good enough person to do a Christian podcast. And two, I wanted to talk about other things that weren't necessarily under the Christian subject. Also, I just wanted to be able to kind of talk about anything I wanted to without being condemned. And so that all goes together. But anyway, I get really frustrated. Like right now, I'm more frustrated with Christians than any other group, because the hypocrisy, them just going along with the government, whatever the government says, they do the opposite of what Jesus taught. And they're willing to support the killing, the mass annihilation of other people thousands of miles away just because their government tells them that they are their enemies, stuff like that. Just disgusted with a lot of the church. And I know not everybody in the church feels that way, but the loudest voices, people like Paula White and Lance Walnut and those people, they have the ear of the president, and they're the ones that are appointed to represent Christianity in America. That should be a huge red flag right there, that, other Christians and other little churches should freak out about that. Like one lady messaged me on Instagram, and she said, when Trump, he put that religious coalition or, council together and made Paula White the leader, my pastor said something like, yeah, people are going to say that, oh my God, he made Paula White the leader, blah, 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 blah. But they need to, are they going to do anything about it? That's what he said. But are they going to do anything about it? And I thought that was interesting, because a lot of these pastors, they don't want to have any inter-party accountability or inter-church accountability. And a lot of times what I try to tell people, especially in politics and the church, but in business too, and any kind of organization, is a lot of times it's the rot from within that's the worst, and people destroy it from within. They can control it from within. So having people like Paula White representing Christianity and this new move to make a golden age of Christianity in the United States, that is deadly. That is not a good thing. That is actually opposite a good thing. And you really shouldn't even have to have that much discernment to understand that. So I think that these pastors really miss the mark when they fail to condemn these evil people that they put in charge of these councils and have such a great influence. If you don't have inter-party, inter-group, inter-church, inter-government accountability, then your faction just rots from within and becomes corrupt. That's should be common sense, but there's barely any common sense left in America. But I was thinking the other day, 1 minute Christians will tell you that Satan is the Lord of this world, and then the next minute they'll tell you God controls the government. The government's on Jesus's shoulders and all that. And to me, I was thinking about it. That kind of destroys the notion of free will. There's a lot of confusion there, and it just really gets to be like them not really knowing what's going on and making excuse after excuse. And like I said, promoting evil things that their government does and convincing people like you and me, average citizens, that they should go along with their government and support it because, you know, God's controlling it. You know, the government is on Jesus' shoulders, but Satan is the Lord of this world. I don't know what to believe. And they kind of push the greater good, even though it's the greater good is really for the government, for the politicians and their cronies, because that's who's behind the policies and that's who's behind the wars and different things like that. You know, there's this whole notion that the American government is the good force in the world is just a freaking joke, man. But anyway, also there's a lot of people trying to fit their ideas, or the ideas of some of these popular ministers' views of prophecy, into the wars. Anything, you know, I've talked about, anything concerning the Middle East, they'll say it's prophetic, you know. And it seems like they're trying to fit into a script of sorts, you know, like the Bible. And a lot of those things already happened, and the things that haven't happened, it's like, how do you know that they're not just trying to make you think that this is prophecy? There's no way to know. People have been saying it's the end times since Christ was here the last time, I'm certain. And many horrible things have happened all over the world, and I'm sure that those people involved in that, the average people who were victims, thought it was the end times then. So I think that people in charge, people controlling these wars and trying to get more power, more land, and those kinds of things, are trying to convince people that these are the end times, and maybe they are, who knows. But I don't really think so. I think that things would have to get so much worse. And that's just why I've kind of decided to distance myself from a lot of religious people, because I find that they don't look at things the way they are. They're trying to fit things within a script, and the Bible's not necessarily a script, because, like I said, some of those things have already happened. I mean, the things that happened clearly in the Bible, in the Old Testament, they'll try to warp and twist to fit modern times. And they do that a lot of times because they hear this buffoonery from these pastors who are trying to mold the Bible to fit modern politics. I mean, that's what they're trying to do, because they want the people to obey the government, to go along with the president and all those kinds of things. So anyway, yeah, I'm just kind of disgusted. But I mean, obviously I have a few friends that are Christians that I believe are good Christians. But for the most part, I'm starting to just not follow a lot of Christian media. It's gotten so disgusting because it doesn't mean anything. It has no teeth. It's just this, it's been a westernized, Americanized, politicized, Israeliized, to the point it's almost useless. It's like self-help organizations that will mention Jesus a little bit, and it just really isn't real. And I'm looking for something real, and a lot of younger people are looking for something real. So I just wanted to talk to you about that, and hopefully maybe you've had some of those same feelings, because if you have, I think that you're on to something like I am, because we just want to tell the truth. We don't want to shill for the government. We don't want to pretend things are good when they're not. We don't want to support evil. You shouldn't want to support evil. I mean, you know, and people will talk about patriotism and how crooked the government is and this, that, and the other. And then when their party gets in charge, they just do all the same things that the opposition did. You know, this blind allegiance. It's pathetic. I mean, there's a reason why they have two parties, right? It's so easily controllable. It's so easy to control us and pit us against each other, because one, you know, for the most part, if a person is politically interested, they're going to pick one of those parties, die on that hill, as I've said many times, and blame everything on the opposition. Well, the opposition has a lot of blame and should be held accountable for sure, but if you don't hold your party accountable, if you don't hold your organization accountable, your faction, your group, then your party becomes corrupt as well, just like the opposition. And these are two very, very corrupt parties, just pathetically corrupt. Anyone who's not willing to believe that and admit that should not be listened to whatsoever, should not be trusted whatsoever. Anyway, cheers and blessings, and remember, their order is not our order. See ya.